all, my brothers and sisters in Christ, and welcome to St. Monica's reflection this evening. Our scripture for tonight will be taken from Luke chapter 24, reading verses 30 to 32. Luke chapter 24, reading verses 30 to 32. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him. And he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us?" I speak to you now in the name of God, who is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Easter has just happened a few weeks ago, and now in our story we are at the stage of the men journeying to Emmaus, and they have now encountered Jesus. There was a lot of things happening at this time, very much so to think about the nature of all of those who believed and followed Jesus, to have witnessed him in his trial, to see him journey to the cross, to watch him die, and to see him buried, all of which must have been devastating for all of those who thought that Jesus was the Messiah, that his salvation for the world and for his people was true. But to watch him die, to go into the grave, to suffer that human fate of death, it all can make things complex. It can lessen our hope in what Jesus was trying to convey as to what was to come afterwards. Very much so, historically speaking, we understand the Jews from their Old Testament account, when they are interpreting a Messiah or a Savior to come, and to be like a new David for them, to restore the kingdom of Israel unto them, so that they can be a nation again full of wealth, full of prosperity, full of land, having plenty gold and treasures, to be on top, to be able to maybe oppress their oppressors the way how they were being oppressed. However, there were many who misunderstood this idea of a physical salvation and not looking at it more of a spiritual salvation. When we see this resurrection happen, we understand in many of the scriptures thereafter that Jesus was following and carefully picking persons for him to meet. We see him meeting Mary and even the other disciples, and everyone at first did not recognize him exactly. But when they realized that this was their Lord, they were elated. Their hearts jumped with joy. And of course, in recognizing Jesus, there comes a transformation to know that he did conquer death, that all of what he was trying to convey did come true, but the way they were looking at it always had them blinded. For this reason, I would like us to look at the road to Emmaus' story in three perspectives. Firstly, we must always recognize Jesus when he is passing. In our story for today, we understand clearly that the disciples or the people were journeying to Emmaus, and now out of nowhere Jesus comes and he's with them. And Jesus starts to ask questions about the events of what they were talking about. And these persons were dumbfounded, trying to figure out, how is it that you do not know about Jesus of Nazareth who died, the sky turning black, all of these wondrous things that happened. And then now to hear that he has risen from an empty tomb. I'm sure it was the talk of the town. And for Jesus now to play as if he doesn't know himself, what has happened to himself, calls for a sort of a mystery in this point. And so as the disciples or the followers of Jesus are walking with him and further conversing with him, they kind of get a connection with him and they beg him to stay. And in the breaking of bread, the scales fell from their eyes and they were able to be open to what was happening, and they recognized Jesus in the breaking of bread. A common act that we see today, the breaking of bread, symbolizes Jesus' new covenant, him being the new sacrificial lamb for us, and to let us know that we are doing this in remembrance of him. It is important for us to recognize Jesus in this day and time. Many times we encounter experiences with Jesus just the same, where he is entering our lives, walking and talking and communing with us, and yet we have no clue that this is Jesus coming to us. Secondly, we must understand how powerful an encounter with Jesus was then and still is today. Many persons back then, we see the stories of persons who encountered Jesus, the stories they heard, the lessons they learned, the perspectives they got, all of which were transformative, gave them a new insight on understanding the scriptures, and then allowed them to self-reflect upon things in which they were struggling with. Many occasions we see now that the encounter of Jesus is so powerful that many of us today must tell persons what has happened. Imagine those who experience hardship, who may be at death's doorstep. Imagine those who have experienced coronavirus and have been cured. I'm sure that they were feeling and touched by Jesus, or experienced some sort of divine entity entering or being with them at this time. The pandemic is so stressful, it is so widespread, and the cure has not been found, that we can only think that God is intervening when we see those who are recovering. And thirdly, we must remember the greatness of the sacrament. What Jesus instituted and what we practice today, known as the Last Supper, Holy Communion, or the Holy Eucharist, is one of the main identifying factors of the Christian church in the world today. This is so powerful that until Jesus took bread and broke it with his followers at that occasion, it was only until then that they recognized him in the common things in which he taught, the things he did, his actions, all of which all relates right back to his teachings, his love, his mercy, and all of what is to come. We practice these things today in remembrance of Jesus, that anywhere we go in the world, we can have the same transformative effect that Jesus had with his disciples in the breaking of bread. This evening, my brothers and sisters, I ask us to find a new hope in Jesus, to understand that he continues to still walk with us and still be with us. Let us find better abilities in recognizing Jesus within our lives, within our communities, within our people. Allow us to see Jesus in all persons who we interact with, letting us know that he is still around. His faith in us and for us is always around us and always still continues to fill us today. So as we reflect upon this scripture, the journey to Emmaus, let us understand and recognize that we too can be like those disciples and carry the story of Jesus to other parts of the world. Let us recognize that he too is transforming us still. And let us recognize him passing, and let us do not pass him by. In his name, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.